So, me personally, I don't see myself ever having kids in life. It's just not my thing. My girlfriend doesn't want any either. We'll probably be old and selfish and just spend the money on holidays, etc. But if JV was to come up to me and ask me to impregnate him, I would without hesitation. This man is amazing. This is the goat farm, aside from that very interesting introduction. Everyone knows the goat farm, you know, Ricky Carmichael's place. We have got on this farm a nationals track that kind of goes all the way around the outside. We have got a little turn track over here on this corner. We have got Supercross track numero uno. We have got Supercross track numero dos, which also has a little Daytona extension here, should you wish to add some sand into your Supercross riding. And then, where is it? There, we have got a little pit bike track as well. So I am on the factory 250 today, and we're going to spin a lap of each and every track, except probably for the turn track. That's just there as a little extra something. But let's go. Let's see how it goes. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, and not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So I do not have loads and loads of experience on these here bikes, which... this way. I do not have loads of experience on these 250s. I really don't. Usually when I ride the 250 factory bikes, it's usually the 2-strokes. And when I'm going for 4-stroke life, it'll be on the old 4FA, just because it makes my life a hell of a lot easier when it comes to hopefully winning some Papiti races. So, we're on the farm, we're on the 250, and the reason I chose the 450... Let me reset. The reason I chose the 250 is purely just based off of the Lawrence Brothers compound that he released not that long ago. The scaling seemed to really work well on the 250 as opposed to the 4, so I thought kind of makes sense if he uses the same sort of scaling for this track here, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I am actually quite impressed by JV's work rate, in all honesty. So he's only recently got finished doing a full 17-round MXGP series where all of the tracks were fully built from scratch. You know, there was no track like from the previous year that he got to build on top of and make slight changes to. They were all from scratch, like made from essentially the ground up. We then got the Lawrence Brothers compound as well, which was quite a big facility, and then really not that long after, we've now got this bad boy. And it's quite impressive, to be honest. I mean, when you get to his sort of level, I guess you have certain workflows and practices that help you build things quicker and just ways of achieving good-looking results in a short amount of time. Whereas me, for example, my very, very subpar one-looking motocross track took me like a good couple of weeks in total to do, and this man's just cranking out full-on facilities in no time at all. So I have to pay some respects to the man. He does such a good job. It's actually unreal, and it's very, very exciting for me to come back from being away for a week to just have all these really, really cool tracks to play and hopefully enjoy it. Now, I feel a little bit embarrassed to say that I do not have the best knowledge of the goat farm at all. You know, when it comes to watching like real-life footage, I don't think I ever have done. There's some of you out there that'll probably know every inch of this place off by heart from stuff that you've watched, but not me. So I'm kind of coming into this just with death, probably. Survive. What? I just leant the bike over to hopefully tuck the front end and crash, but it gripped in and started turning me. What on? So I thought I was going to wash out here, but it just suddenly got... That is... Okay. So I guess you can save a lot of wild stuff on these factory bikes. Very interesting. That's actually shocked me. I feel like 999 times out of 1,000 that should usually end up in a front end wash or a crash there, but I guess it's my lucky day, apparently. So thank you very much, Factory Bikes, for giving me an easy life. I do appreciate it. Where was I? I've completely lost my train of thought now off that minute. Enjoying good tracks after coming back, maybe? Question mark, yes. I don't think I've ever been genuinely this excited to hop on bikes for quite some time, but I guess having a week of, I guess, like a technology detox as a whole, kind of gives you the itch back, gets you raring to go. I'm very, very excited for it. I'm more excited to try out these Supercross tracks that he's built on here, because the only Supercross tracks of JVs that I've ever played before were on the Lawrence compound, and I really enjoyed those. It's slightly smaller on the scaling side of things than what most people are used to, but I think if we implement the old 250 around there, it should be really good fun. Now, I'm not too sure how well this bike handles Supercross, especially whoops and things like that. The 450s handle them, they're pretty good. You can, especially with the high acceleration that they have, you can quad some sections that you can't quad on the OEMs. I did find I struggle in the whoops a little bit on these bikes because the suspension absorbs the jumps so much that it actually gets you inside the whoops rather than skimming across the top of them. That is all stuff that can be changed by just going and tweaking the suspension yourself, but you know me, a lot of the time I do tend to raw dog it unless someone sends me a specific setup that I try and I like. I usually don't mess about with anything myself personally. It's just a lot of time for, I think, very minimal gain. I mean, a lot of time, if someone was to find the most perfect setup in the world, if you was to compare that setup to a stock setup on, let's say, a Supercross track, you're probably going to gain a second at max. The rest of it is all down to just individual players and skill issues, which I do tend to have a lot of skill issues on this game, especially as of late. I don't think it's a point where I've got worse at the game as time's gone on. I generally think it's a case of there's just newer people that have come along that are even better than I ever was, and you have to respect it. You have to take out off to it, and I could even kind of throw the age thing out there. I definitely think it's no coincidence that all of the top guys these days are on the younger side of things. I tend to compare it to like Rocket League, for example. A majority of the pros on Rocket League. I mean, I guess Rocket League is a kind of like I guess a kind of childish game anyway, in a sense. But I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the, I say, like prospects on that game, like the up-and-coming guys, they are very young. You know, I'm even going as far as like 14, 15, and I feel like that's kind of translating over to bikes now. You know, I think the average player base is getting younger and younger, more people are kind of getting into the game, and I think it's purely just to do with like hand-eye coordination and reaction times and everything. The younger guys just have an easier time of it overall. So it does make me happy when I get the occasional W from time to time. I don't know when the last overall I got was. I want to say like Budds Creek towards the back end of the outdoors season. But I did get a win at round 1 of SMX in one of the motos in NA. So very happy with that. So it's nice knowing that this old boy can still compete. And I do apologise. I know there's people that watch these videos that are even older than me. For anyone unaware, I am 27. I mean, the 28 is very quickly creeping up on me, which feels quite gross to say. I mean, I went out with my girlfriend over to the shop the other day. I can't remember how it came up in conversation, but it was kind of like, damn, we're closer to 30 than we are 25 now. That's actually disgusting. And because neither of us feel particularly old. I still feel like that kid that comes home from school and hops on his PlayStation and goes to play Alive for far too many hours back to back. And I have no intention of, I guess, growing up anytime soon. I still enjoy my video games, still like playing them, and I still like getting to sit here and record my thoughts and gameplay for you guys that hopefully enjoy them just as much. Get around here, let's get up this double. I can't lie, I'm struggling a little bit right now. Mostly because it looks like some of the jump faces are like a lot similar to others. I think there's a lot of blind jumps. Can I jump and scrub over that? I can. That's actually a lot more satisfying. There's a few jumps here in like short little straights where there's just corner double, corner double, corner double. I'll just try and get my timing down right. And there's some jumps that are nice and floaty. Others are very short that you have to scrub a lot of speed off of. But I feel like that usually happens with these longer length outdoors tracks. It does take a little bit of time to kind of get the hang of it. I wonder, do you think I could triple this bad boy here? Might be a 450 line. Or, I don't know. If this table wasn't here, I reckon you might be able to get the speed to get up and over that. But because it's there, it kind of limits how much momentum you can carry. If I go outside, try and stay a bit lower. Oh, it's a bit too low. Just try stretching it out and see if I get close. No, it wasn't even close, and I don't know if a 450 would even be that much of a difference overall. So potentially, it might be a big line. It might be one of them lines where you slap the front wheel on top of it and like bounce off the other end. But I like the way these jump faces are built. I feel like you can get very, very steezy. Also, a fan which I think JV is kind of the leader of in this category is when you have multiple ruts in the same corner. They're not uniform at all. You know, they've all got their own different characteristics. Some have hooks in them, some don't. Some might have a few more holes than others, but they don't all follow the same curve. You haven't got 3 or 4 ruts that are all the exact same angle, the exact same depth. And that's kind of why he is the GOAT, in my opinion. So very fitting that he's the one to create the GOAT farm as such. Please survive this. Oh, I felt so sketchy there. Then we got this double, which I've cased every single time as well, because I keep forgetting where I am on the track. It doesn't feel like I'm being pushed into the same line over and over again. I feel like there's time for me going into each corner to sit and think, right, do I want to go inside here? Do I want to go outside here? And then make the adjustment. You can tell I'm rusty, can't you? This is what happens. You don't play the game for a week. I plan on sitting here for a good amount of hours a day and just banging out a whole bunch of videos so then I can really focus on doing some live stream stuff and just trying to come up with some new interesting ideas for the game. Because just before this, I recorded the video on round 2 of the SMX track. After this, I'm probably going to do Battle Creek, I'm probably going to do The Farm by T-Bell, and then I need to speak to Charlie, see if he wants to hop on the game and play at all. I'm not sure if he's been playing much without me or what he's been up to. But yeah, the bromance was put on hold for a week or so need to get back to some Charlie time, whether it's on bikes or pro clubs or whatever it may be. Please stay on the track. Oh, that's so... That jump there, that is a bit of an awkward one, because you want to hit it fast, you want to try and scrub up and over it as much as you can, and the corner is so close to the landing, very, very difficult. This section is quite interesting, because you can go inside and go double single, or you can go outside and just double down. So plenty of line choice, so he's done a very, very good job on that, and I think this track as a whole, I think if I was to kind of turn the recording off, go and spend 10-20 laps and just really learn the flow of it, what lines are best, I think it could be a very, very fun, very smooth track all the round, which is always why I feel like I don't know if I should put warnings up or just let people know that these are first impressions. So if you see me like struggling with a particular part of the track, majority of the time, once I've done the video and I then come back to the track at a later date, I usually go a lot faster. I think it's a combination of them being used to it and of it being put more time onto the track, of course. But then also, at the same time, I think it's just the lack of pressure from having to record at all. Which, oddly enough, I mentioned earlier about winning one of the motos of SMX round 1. That was in the NA race where I didn't live stream at all. So it does just show, like, it really does affect your concentration levels when you press that record button. Might feel a bit odd, but no, it does make a world of difference. Right, we are making our way over to the Daytona Supercross track here. So this track can be ridden in 2 ways, as such. I'm pretty sure he's got both layouts like actually saved. I'm not sure what's going on here with the whole cone situation. I feel like that's probably to do with it. No, so the Daytona layout, you filter through here, go straight through this part between the berms, and then you actually get onto kind of like a sandy-ish track through here. And this whole track as well, it's kind of got a very overgrown vibe. You know, there's bits of foliage or grass working its way through, gives the illusion that it's not rid on very often. Which, to be fair, do pros ride Daytona-esque Supercross tracks that often at all? I think they'd usually... Oh my god, that's peaky! Oh, these are so peaky. Holy moly, send you up in the air. I think I got very lucky there without being able to downside those. Yeah, do pro riders ride Daytona-esque tracks that much, or is it just kind of like the week building up to Daytona? I don't think there's much point adding a bunch of sand into your Supercross tracks on a weekly basis throughout the Supercross series, unless they start adding just like a crap ton of massive sand sections for no reason. I feel like there was a year where they kind of got a bit too happy with the amount of sand in Supercross tracks, and I think they've toned it down a bit as of late. I mean, you can have tracks like Tampa of last year where there was a good amount of, like, there was like a long sand straight, but I don't think that's too bad. It's then when you go to the extent of adding in like massive sand walls and like, actual sand jump sections, I think it kind of takes away from the Supercross feeling. a little bit. It must be a nightmare for the riders when it comes to like bike setup, especially because I imagine your bike's like hella stiff, ready for the harsh impact of whoops and like over jumping or casing, and then you're going through like a super soft sand section in there. But like it looks so sketchy, and especially with how like fine and powdery the sand is, I do not envy them. Especially the suspension techs. I have no idea. Kind of similar with this the round 2 of the SMX playoffs. Like that track looked very, very brutal. Definitely more motocrossy than supercrossy. But hey, what do I know? I didn't ride it in the end. It is what it is. Whilst I was away, I did a very minute amount of scrolling through Discords. Stayed away from it quite a lot, getting up to like playoff times. Didn't want anything spoiled for me to catch up on when I return. But one thing I've noticed, and you can treat this as me complaining or whining or bitching, whatever term you prefer. I've noticed a theme, and that is for people kind of trying to get into the YouTube game, like being slightly newer to it. Basically copying like for like the same sort of thumbnail format. Now, no one owns a thumbnail by any means. That's not what I'm saying. I feel like I've done a lot of experimenting over the years, whether it came from the very, very old days of having a different coloured border with my very old logo on the thumbnail each time, to then getting rid of it and just having the logo in the corner, to getting rid of the logo and slapping an MX Bikes logo up in the top corner, to then having like a white border, to then changing fonts each week. And I feel like I've got to a point now where my videos can kind of be recognised without even seen there by me, just from the thumbnail, because the majority of the time it will be track and rider. Rider will have kind of like a black stroke around it and a white glow, got the white border around the entirety of the picture, and then usually like white font at the top or bottom as well, just kind of explaining what's going on. And I feel like it's quite clean, it's quite simple, and I like how it looks. And scrolling through the media channel on the MX Bikes Discord, I've noticed a lot of people doing the same thing, which I feel like annoys me more than it should, because everyone does say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I have definitely taken inspiration from other people's thumbnail in the past. Aiden, for example, who is a good friend of mine, you've seen Aiden in one or two videos, and definitely in the background of some live streams he's been talking. The MX Bikes logo in the top of my thumbnails, I got the inspiration from that from him, from some of his really old stuff. In terms of like the white border around it, I got that inspiration from Smitty. If anybody watches Smitty, he's like a variety games YouTuber slash streamer. He's Canadian, very, very funny. He doesn't show his face either, funnily enough, most of the time at least. And then yeah, the outer glow, like the glowing and the changing of saturation and brightness, that was just me experimenting. But yeah, I've noticed a couple of people using like literally the exact same thing. So white border, Bikes logo in the top, outer glow around the rider, white font at the top or bottom. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like it annoys me more than it should, because everyone does say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But I feel like I wouldn't say it damages my videos in any way, because I feel like it's just a case of if they make the videos that kind of similar, then their videos would then perform better, because maybe they get mistaken, etc. But I feel like it almost hurts my image in a way, because then it's not so unique or synonymous with a Linz video. And I'm very curious to see what other people think about that whole scenario as such, if it's definitely something that I'm worrying about too much, because it's not a case of me thinking, oh, well, now my channel is going to go in the bin, everyone's going to leave and go from my videos to other people's videos because they look similar. Do you think it kind of affects the image at all? Have you been confused at any point in your recommendation? Have you seen any other MX Bikes related videos that you thought were mine because of the way they looked on the surface that then turned out they weren't? Very, very interesting. It's one of the things I wasn't sure whether to reach out to people and be like, hey, can you change things up? Because that almost seems like a little bit petty and a little bit like gatekeeper-ish in a way. But I just wanted to kind of speak my mind on that sort of thing and see what other people's like views and opinions are on it, because part of me kind of respects the hustle, you know, to make your videos kind of look like other videos that perform well. It's definitely a good move to do. But then other part was like a little bit hurt, I guess, because I feel like my Photoshop stills definitely can't compete with Reaper's, for example. I think Reaper has really, really good thumbnails. He's really good on Photoshop. Troy's thumbnails are very, very simple. but they get the job done. Like his videos do really, really well, and you know it's a Troy video. Usually it's like a really high FOV like image of him on the bike with, again, like text at the top or the bottom. So you know what a Troy video is, you know what a Reaper video is, and I feel like at this point people know what a Linz video is. Yeah, I feel like almost like my image is kind of being spread out between multiple channels now, and that makes me think, do I mix things up, or do I keep it the same and just keep doing what I'm doing? And I feel like I'm quite an open book when it comes to receiving feedback and how you guys think the channel should operate as a whole, and I'm always looking to improve things. So do you think I should try mixing things up a little bit with a different like look of thumbnail? Do you think I should keep the same formula and just do what I do and let other people kind of find their own path? Am I just making a big deal out of nothing? It's definitely not something that keeps me up at night. It's just one of them things that I thought, well, that's a bit odd, so I don't know whether I should be flattered or annoyed by the situation. But enough of that. Enough of me waffling. This Supercross track's actually really, really fun. Like, it's very, very fast. Like, super, super fast. And I'm quite happy that I hopped on the 250 or stayed on the 250 for this. Gets through the whoops very well, and I was a little nervous about those whoops. They looked quite peaky when I was having a little fly around at the beginning. I am actually... Let me mix things up right here and get away from the Daytona part. Let me ride the actual one. Oh, that's okay. That is a whole ass triple. On off. That's a very, very tall on off. Then we go double. I feel like I could go double triple there. One thing that is quite nice, whilst these jumps are actually quite difficult to get right where they are so peaky, it feels like if you do manage to downside a double correctly, you can then turn the next jump into a triple, which this game always struggles with. You know, I feel like if you ruin a Supercross section on this game, you're then stuck doubling through the entirety of it time and time again. But he's done a pretty decent job of this. And I do have to apologise to JV, because he messaged me just before I went away asking if I'm going to be about, because I feel like we've almost got this unspoken agreement now, whereas if he is going to release anything, he'll send it over to me like a day or two early for me to record a video on, and then kind of the same day that it goes live, my video will go up, so I get like a good video's worth of content where people are excited for a new track release, and he gets a little bit more publicity and more eyes on his track or compound as a whole. So it's a really good dynamic that I feel like we have going on there. And he seemed genuinely upset that I was going away, and I felt bad too, because obviously now I had to wait a long time to get to record this, but I'm glad it's finally here. I've been trying to get this damn triple in. There we go. I didn't even feel like I hit the corner particularly well that time, but it was by far the best attempt to getting that triple in. I do think there's some big boy lines doable on this track if you was to rock up on a 450. I've got the road set to exactly 1. And what lap are we on? We're on lap 6 or 7 right now, and it is starting to dig down from just me, so I do think these tracks could get pretty brutal. One thing I am a fan of, which let me go and ride over to it and I'll show you, which I don't see many people doing. I don't know how you go about building it so it works in a particular way. But I saw JV do this on a few of his GP rounds, is this inside rut here, rather than starting and ending, say, here, and shooting you out this way, I like how he makes them kind of extend out to the berm and meet the berm at the end of it. So you can still take the outside and kind of jump off of the end of it if you need to, or the inside leads you all the way out. And I definitely think it does add a sense of realism, because it isn't realistic for all ruts to kind of be uniform side by side and start and end like next to each other. Like, ruts do cross over, they kind of hook from one to the other. One rut might push into another rut for like different from the start of the day to the end of the day. It's just little things like that I really, really do enjoy. And there's a lot of little things that I've not even mentioned on here yet, like the actual garage where you start in before you ride out when you spawn into the track. Lots of tiny little things like screwdrivers or duct tape on the benches that looks really, really cool. Please get the inside still. Oh, that was so close. Oh my god. So I almost went triple quad over there to the inside. That would have been very, very fast. But this Supercross track so far, me likey. Very, very good stuff. Let's go and try the other one, which I believe is over there somewhere. Just show it off this garage area actually before we move over. So we've got some power tools dotted around, we've got some tape going on there, we've got the old air gun, WD-40, we've got whatever on earth Worth is, with some Asian writing going on there. I'm not going to specify whether it's Japanese or Korean or Chinese. We've got some more tape, we've got some more WD-40, we've obviously got the JV like mats on the floor, we've got stools, we've got all sorts going on. We've got random screwdrivers over there. It's just like a nice, good looking environment as a whole. it's just little things that get added into these, like little details that really bring a track to life. We've got a little cabin over there. We've got various, I guess, warehouses, if you would refer to them as that. We've got silos. I do like the water trucks that he's got dotted around here. He's added like almost like a rust coat to it to make it look like they're really weathered trucks, like they've been around for ages. Like more synonymous with, I guess, like a private area rather than this like super fancy, I guess, public facility like right here. Look very, very pretty. So, Supercross track. This is actually the final track that I'm going to do in this video. Only reason being is I'm quite conscientious of time now. I've noticed that some of my longer videos don't perform as well as the shorter ones, and I think it's more a case of people obviously having shorter attention spans is one thing. I think it's like a commitment for some people watching a video. So if they wake up in the morning and see a video that is an hour long, they're not going to be like, oh, well, I've only got 15 minutes, I'll watch 15 minutes now and I'll come back to it later. They just won't watch it full stop because they've not got that time to dedicate to watching the whole thing. So I'm going to try and keep this one slightly shorter, which does mean that, oh my Christ, both the pit bike track and the turn track are not going to be covered in this video. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because then that means you guys get to try things out for the first time by yourselves. You don't have me to like spoil or ruin absolutely everything. I'm surprised the suspension took that well. And I'm realising actually I'm in a bit of a different scenario this time, because usually when I bring you these tracks, I'm the first one to ride them. However, I bet a bunch of you guys have actually ridden this already. So I'm very curious to hear your feedback. And already I can tell you that this Supercross track and the previous Supercross track are nothing alike. The jump faces are completely different. These ones are nowhere near as steep as the other ones, so this is a little bit more on the mellow side of things. Like the on-offs seem a little bit shorter as well, so they're less technical in some aspects, but then more technical in others. Can we? Oh my Jesus! And then what? Single out of here? Yes, lovely. Over the whoops. This whoop section is a lot easier than the other one, so I wouldn't say that already I prefer one over the other, because they both just have their own characteristics. I feel like that's kind of a good thing, rather than making the tracks kind of samey and just copy and pasting one template from one track to another. It's quite nice having some variety. I am really struggling on 250 life. I want my 450 back. I can't get over these jumps as easy as I normally would. I forget how like wide open you have to hold these bikes a lot of time to get over certain sections. Can I triple in here from the inside? I can. And then quad and triple again. So I think, since I can triple into some of these sections on a 250, I would advise going down the 250 route. I just think that if you were to ride a 450, there are probably some very, very, let's just say entertaining sections that you could probably hit. I mean, if I was to go around the outside in that corner and send it in on a 450, you could probably step all the way onto a table, like 5 all the way in. Got this triple in here. I'm going to check up a little bit because I actually over jumped it. Go double in here. Round to the left through the lovely easy whoop section. Through the lovely easy, most of the time, whoop section. I let go of my controller when I started crashing there, and I honestly thought it was about to kind of bring itself back and save it, which would have been nuts to have that happen in the same video as that weird save on the Nationals track at the very, very beginning. Super triple sends you very, very high up into the air. I feel like you can probably quad that, maybe on a 450, not so sure about the 250. I like how steep the landing of this finish line jump is. It means you have to be very, very accurate. Go double, step on, off, triple into the corner. Yes, nice. Seems like there's lots of different like jump options as well. I don't feel like you're just trapped doing one thing or the other. So if I go outside here, can I step all the way onto this tabletop? Yes, is the answer. Oh. Factory bikes doing what factory bikes usually do and saving me from a demise. And then send this quad up and over, single into the turn. And overall, a simpler track than the first one, I think. Easier to get a good rhythm going around it. Then some tricky aspects here and there. Like the Supercross trick will send you very, very high. You've got to be quite precise. Got to be precise on the finish line as well. Did not manage to bring that back. Not the end of the world, it's fine. But overall, actually really enjoyable place as a whole. And I love that JV's doing these like extra, I guess, facilities on the side, and he's not just trying to get ahead of the curve, ready for the 2024 season when it comes to all these national tracks that are going to be being built. I'm very happy. I'm a very, very happy man for the future, as I believe it's almost official at this point that he's going to be doing the AMA tracks next year as well as the GP tracks next year. So we still definitely have at least 1 year of this game for everybody to look forward to and be excited for. So I do think that he is the man. He is top of his class, I guess you could say. So keep them coming, JV, and I'll keep playing them. And please don't get too weirded out by my comment at the very, very start of this video. That's going to do it for me. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this place as a whole. Do you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy it? If you can give any sort of constructive feedback, I know JV is always welcome to it. He's quite often in the MX Spikes GP Discord when that series was going on, looking for people's opinions on the tracks as a whole, which is really nice to see. Even someone that I think is the very, very top of the scene, still being open to receiving that feedback and criticism just kind of speaks to his personality as a whole. So really good stuff. Thank you very much for watching. Glad to be back, as always. Glad I get to ride these fun and exciting tracks. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be trying to do every day recently. I have no reason not to now that I'm back. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.